Good afternoon. Tim Bennett here from the Cortland Voice. I'm joined with Fred Pierce. He's the PR director for SUNY Cortland. Fred, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tim.
Okay. Fred's joining us today to address the community, and he wanted to give the community an opportunity to learn about what happened the other night on Friday night, but he also wants the community to know that SUNY Cortland is taking a stand and they're being very firm, and he wants you to know how they are doing so. So, Fred, go right ahead. Explain what happened the other night and go right ahead.
Sure. And Tim, thanks so much for asking me to do this. Um, what happened, and I think most people in the city of Cortland and certainly on campus are aware that there was a large house party at Tompkins Street. Um, the city and the campus have been working very closely together since before the start of the semester, sharing information and ideas, keeping each other updated on what we're observing. And that particular house, there had been a couple complaints were drawn to our attention. So city police and working in partnership with university police conducted an undercover investigation. They surveilled the house on Friday and saw a steady stream of students going around the back and going inside. And they also heard music playing and obvious signs of noises of a party inside. They heard the music from more than 50 feet away, which indicated it was clearly above the minimum threshold and violated the city's noise ordinance. So they went around to the door, saw one of the people at the party came out the back, and they asked her if she would take them to the residents of the building, which she did. And those were the four gentlemen identified and who were ultimately charged with the noise violation by Cortland police. As she was doing that, the people inside the house, and police estimated there were more than 75, again, they had counted students going in, immediately scrambled, headed for the rooms, and locked themselves behind doors. The police officers were able, after about 2.5 hours in this house, able to identify a little more than a dozen other students who were at the party. They were not all SUNY Cortland students. There were a couple of former students, and there were students that were visiting from other campuses, which is, as we know during the pandemic, a dangerous situation. So the residents of the house refused to cooperate with the police in unlocking any of the doors behind which the party guests were hiding. And after the course of 2.5 hours, other calls were coming in for service, and the police eventually realized they would get no cooperation and had no choice but to leave. So they ticketed the people that they could. They got the names, and all of the people involved will have a hearing and face disciplinary action by the Office of Student Conduct. And again, this is under the uniform sanctioning policy that was put in place across SUNY by the chancellor last semester, of which all students are very much aware. The penalties for the people who, if you host a party off campus, if you're found that you actually did that, you will be suspended. When you're suspended, you not only don't take classes, you lose your tuition, you lose any fees, room and board you may have paid, you are done for the semester. If you were attended one of those parties, then it depends on whether it's your first offense or not. If it's your first offense, you will be asked to, you will essentially be banned from campus. You will not be able to take in-person classes. You may be able to take online classes, but you will not have access to the Student Life Center or campus amenities. If it is your second offense, you will be suspended. These are serious ramifications for this because it is a very serious topic. And I know that SUNY Cortland suspended more students last semester than they have in probably the last 5 years combined. We are paying attention to this, and we are disciplining harshly for reasons that we don't understand. Some students, and I do want to say that it is a minority of our students, the vast majority of students, when you go on campus, you see everybody wearing masks, social distancing, playing by the rules. And I think most students off campus do that as well. But we have, out of the thousands of students attending SUNY Cortland this semester, we clearly have at least 100 or more that think during a pandemic, you can still act as business as usual and have the kind of college experiences you anticipated. It's understandable that you would want that, but we're in a situation where the impact you have on others is potentially too great.
And speaking of impact on others, about 30 seconds ago, you spoke on the Life Center. If it is found that the numbers do go up for COVID-19 cases, is there a certain point, or do you already know that, whether offhand, or is there some sort of plan where things might be taken away, like the Life Center or something like
that? Absolutely. One of the frustrating things about this party is that occurred mere hours after President Bitterbaum sent a message to students, letting them know that we had hit the 100 case threshold, which triggers the study in place that we all experienced last semester, and which was not a pleasant experience for anybody on campus. So we want to avoid it, and he sent a message to the community to let them know that SUNY was essentially granting a reprieve during these initial 2 weeks because we're doing so much testing. We've gone from surveillance testing, where you're testing at random. You may get tested last semester several times in the pool during the course of a semester. Now we are testing every single week. And actually, after this party, the chancellor indicated to us that it's necessary for us to test twice a week, which this could very well be a super spreader event. We need to jump on it quickly. So that is a necessary step. But at any point, we could decide, or SUNY could decide, that the mitigation measures we need to take involve closing the Student Life Center, involve changing dining so it is once again only grab and go, eliminating in-person classes. Although I will say there have been no transmission through in-class activities. What we've seen is transmission that has occurred largely during social activities off campus or within residence halls. A real problem with these parties is these parties are not limited to students who live off campus. You have students living on campus who may attend, and if they contract the virus, they bring it back to their residence hall. So it is imperative that students report for testing. And then when we identify positive cases, we have improved not only our surveillance, but our isolation and quarantine mechanisms. So we will jump on it immediately and get those students separated from the general population where they could spread the infection.
Okay. Um, and then also going back, besides those 4 students, have the police arrested or found any other students that may have been involved in the incident?
The police have identified and have the names of at least a dozen other students who were there, and the investigation is ongoing. We, again, and it is not only to provide punishment, any student who attended a large event like that, where masks, according to the police, were not worn,
Mhm.
is in danger of contracting the virus. They need to take action. They need to be tested. Um, and, and they need to, if it is their first offense, they need to own up to it. And above all, they need to stop. This may have been the first joint undercover operation that the police forces did, but it will not be the last. These gatherings must stop. We could be forced to close at any time if our numbers continue to go up.
Understood. Um, Going further with that, I know that the 4 that were arrested didn't comply as far as opening the doors so that the police could get to the others that were behind the door. If it is found that more were involved, I mean, if you do find the identity of the others, just like you found the 12, will they be held maybe at a higher stake than normal just because they didn't comply, they hid, they ran away from, like in theory, when someone does something and then you don't comply, you resist, things like that, you're found to be charged with more. Does that escalate it? Whereas maybe it wouldn't be that first offense. Well, it might be your first offense, but would it be escalated?
That's a very good question, and I don't know the answer to it. That's a question that probably better posed to the police.
Mhm.
The police have indicated, as I said, that the investigation is ongoing and that additional charges may be brought. So I certainly think that's possible, although I don't know.
Okay. Will anything be done to give more attention to bigger organizations? So like athletics, Greek life, when contact tracing. I know that that was done in the past, but especially now with numbers getting up at this rate
Right,
fast.
right. We we're analyzing the positives we get. Yeah, we have one of our Dr. Jill Murphy, and epidemiologist. That's a difficult word for me to pronounce for some reason. Is working with student health services and the health department, and analyzing where we're finding the positives, what commonalities. And as you said, we found last semester that our 2 big jumps in cases, one of them, one was related to parties, but one was related to the fraternities and sororities rushing some of their group activities. So we'll be looking for that. And in cases where that happens, both athletic teams and Greek organizations, they know they are not supposed to be conducting their usual operations. They're not supposed to be having large gatherings. They're not supposed to be doing in-person rush activities. If they are, they will be in serious trouble with the campus, and may even come under sanction by their national organization. So we are taking this seriously. Um, and again, you can't discipline your way out of a pandemic. The most important thing is that the light bulb goes off over the heads of the small number of students who still don't get that this is a unique time in history and everybody needs to do their part to get us back to normal. And the longer things like this, behavior like this goes on, the more that's going to be delayed.
Understood. Now, what this is going back towards, or back to when we spoke on the punishment for the students. If they're being suspended, it's only for a semester. They're not like expelled. They're not being expelled, being that the pandemic is with such importance.
No, it again, it also depends on what students have done in the past. I know we did expel, I believe it was 2 students last semester.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't know for sure. But no, that is a possibility. The uniform sanctioning policy, that is one of the possible outcomes that they lay out is this expulsion from the college, not just suspension.
Mm, okay. For the students who were from other colleges, did did the police or UPD, are they reaching, or maybe even someone else from the college, SUNY Cortland, are they reaching out to those colleges? Like if it was a student from SU or Tompkins Cortland Community College or something like that, is there some kind of
I don't know for sure, but I can share that in the past, that is exactly what has happened. That we have, um, I know campuses. It's in all of our interest to
Mhm.
stop the spread of COVID-19. So we will communicate. I know in the past we have communicated with campuses where visiting students have come from.
Mhm.
I see no reason why we wouldn't be doing it in this case.
Gotcha. And then to the community members that feel that they're not being heard, they comment, whether it be on the different press releases, whether it be on your social media accounts, the Cortland Voice social media accounts, things like that. What is your true message to them?
I I would say that we do hear you, and more than that, we share your frustration. Most of us realize that there are people who, for whatever reason, don't feel that the pandemic poses a serious threat, feel that they don't need to wear masks, um, which I guess and they're not seeing that it's not a matter of their individual liberty or anything. It's a matter of protecting others. And we love the community that we're in. And SUNY Cortland appreciates the support we get from those around us. And we don't want to see anything bad happen. That's why we are working with the city as closely as possible. We work with other officials as well. The police are working in sync. And we appreciate when neighbors let us know when there are parties going on. I will point out that it is not just students that pose the problem. While we were on break, we saw an increase in the percentage in the Cortland area.
Mhm.
We all need to approach this as though we're not 2 separate communities, as though we're one community, working together to keep all of us safe.
Thank you once again for joining us today. And thank you to the community for following the Cortland Voice. God bless.
Thank you.